things that's important when you do ecological is you say you have sandy soil. Some people
Right.
have wet soil. Some people have no shade. Some people have too much shade.
Right.
And so it's really important, excuse me, to select the right plant. And particularly in New England now, our weather patterns are changing. We're having pretty much very wet springs, but very droughty summers. There are possibly 5, 6, 7 weeks where we might not have any rain. So it's really important to pick, as they say, the right plant for the right place.
Sure.
So
And we go on vacation in the summertime too.
that's
so
correct.
That's
That's correct. So one of the things, getting back to the soil, if you can incorporate some good loam or not necessarily peat moss, but some compost and other things that are going to hold the moisture in,
Sure.
and also find plants that are pretty drought tolerant. And at the beginning, any plant, even if it's a drought tolerant plant, needs some care, and people have to water it a little bit more frequently. Even the first 2 years, a plant really is considered new. So you would want to pick a plant that was perhaps native or drought tolerant or placed in the right situation. You wouldn't want to put a shade-loving plant in the sun because it's going to dry out too quickly
Sure.
and get burnt. So one of the things that I brought 2 things today, because I think not only picking the right plant for the right place, but also picking a plant when you go to the nursery that's healthy. And I brought a sample of a rhododendron today, excuse me, that has beautiful glossy green leaves. And it's very drought tolerant. If you can see, the back is kind of fuzzy if you want to
Yes.
feel it.
Sure. Oh, yes.
This is a sign that this is a pretty drought tolerant plant because this fuzzy back of the leaf helps it retain its moisture.
Excellent.
Another thing, a clue for a plant that would do well in sun is something that has gray-green foliage or very ferny, tend to be more drought tolerant. So so you would look for plants that have no brown or dry spots on them, and when you can't do this at the nursery, of course, but when you can pull them out and you can look at the root system and see that it's not all circled because that's not healthy for the plant. And you can do some things to remedy that, but if it's too bad and the roots are circled, then eventually, even if you take the best care of this plant in the world, it's basically going to die because it's not going to be able to go out. And roots actually, years ago, people used to think roots went out as far as the canopy of a tree or a plant. They go 3, 4 times more than that. So if they're bound around and all tied up in knots, they're not going to be able to go out.
They're strangulated.
Yes,
Okay.
and they won't be able to take up the nutrients because all of those tiny little root feeders at the end of the root is what brings the food and the water into the plant.
Very good.
The other thing that you want to think about when you're selecting plants, and I brought some annuals, little pansies. You want to see also green leaves on these, not floppy, drop-dead plants. And actually, I should be ashamed of myself to bring these because I didn't water them very well this morning before I put them in the car, and they're pretty dried out. So if you see something if you can just even pinch the top, if it's solid like a rock, it means that it has been watered well and taken care of well, and you probably don't want to bring that home.
Okay.
So since this one has already been teased out of this little container, it was easy for me to just take it out. But I also wanted to say that often when we take plants too, this is a good way to take little annuals out of their containers. Gently squeeze the bottom. And this one, as you see, had some roots coming out. If the roots are too much, give them a little clip with your nice pair of sharp scissors, and then just gently squeeze the end and put your hand there so that you get it. Don't let it fall on the ground. And then pull it out. Don't pull it out from the top. You can rip the plant out. And then, before you plant it in your container, you'll just gently, again, you can do this with scissors or your pruners, just gently take off the bottom root. So that's going to encourage the other roots now to go and out into the container.
Very good.
Okay. For a potted plant, you can push it a little bit to loosen it up. And then, again, the same thing. Put your hand here on the top and gently push it out and tap it out. Don't pull it up like this.
Very good.
So And
I
these,
think we've all at one time done that
Yes.
and been very sorry
absolutely,
for it. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And actually, I just did that to show, I did do that to show you the roots, and what I did with this one is I took off some of the soil. So this is
Very
not a good
good.
root ball. So see, don't do that.
Oh,
Learn
don't do
from
that.
my mistake.
Okay,
Do
very
this.
good.
Go like this.
Very good.
And tip it out. Okay. So, and when you're planting annuals, besides giving them a little help, wait for the weather to be really warm enough, because we're all anxious now to get
Oh.
things out there. It's going to be 32 tonight in Bourne,
Right.
Massachusetts. And so people who have put out tender things like tomato plants, etc., they're going to be unhappy tomorrow unless they go out there and cover them with sheets or newspapers, and
Sure.
it's too cold. It's
Yeah.
still a little too cold. So you really should wait till the last, till about Memorial Day to put some of your more tender things in. Pansies are fine because they can even take a little bit of cold, but more tender